You're listening to the Greeks Gridiron. Now here's your host, Ethan Haristadoulou.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the Greeks Gridiron, and hello to my UFL people, as today, following a week of a pretty decently large amount of news coming out of the UFL, we had, of course, training camp, we had the official announcement of the UFL and Under Armour partnership, and a few things they've got going on, which includes the uniforms being revealed during team press conferences this past week as well. Today, I am diving in and I am going to rank all 8 teams from worst to first in terms of their uniforms. Yes, their uniforms here are going up and being put to the test here. As always, I invite you all to comment down below. Let me hear your thoughts and opinions on the team's uniforms. We don't have like concrete, what is like the word here? We don't have like quite what I would like to see from them in terms of like actual uniform reveal. It was like photos of players within their uniforms, and it was announced on the website, so it's nice that we have somewhat of a real look at them. But I would really hope that in the next few days we get like a good side-by-sides of like the home, aways, fronts and backs, alternates, and all that stuff thrown together into one. But I decided to dive right in, go ahead, and I'll give you guys my initial reactions to what we have seen of them here. So, like I said, comment down below. Let me hear your thoughts and opinions on uniforms. How would you rank them? Your thoughts on mine. But we'll start at the very bottom. We'll work our way up to the top here. And the team that I have sitting at number 8 as far as uniforms go is going to be the San Antonio Brahmas. Listen, I don't know if it's the tone of the black, gray, whatever it is, color that they have going on with their uniforms here. I know the lighting kind of skews the way this looks a little bit here, but I am not a fan. I'm not. And I really, I don't know why, because I'm a big fan of the Steelers uniforms in the NFL. I love the idea of black and gold going together. I think they complement each other very, very well. But for whatever reason, the way that this black or gray that they're using here, I'm not exactly sure of what the color is supposed to be, just kind of clashes with the yellow in my opinion. And it kind of looks It doesn't do it for me. It doesn't do it for me. And maybe it'll grow on me over time, but the more I sat there and looked at the images that we saw of the San Antonio Brahmas uniforms, the less and less I started to like them. So not the biggest fan of the way the uniforms look. I feel like they're just a little too plain, and also on top of that, I don't think that the gray/black with the yellow matches up really well. But again, just my opinion here. At number 7, next team on the list here, we're looking at the Arlington Renegades. And I've got to say, they have such a great color scheme, and it was just not the best uniform design in my opinion. The blue, soft blue, the really light blue that they have going on here, it very much reminds me of like the Houston Oilers kind of blue that they used to use on that team. And I'm a big fan of it. I love Carolina blue, the powder blues, all that kind of stuff. Big fan of them on football uniforms as a whole. Like, I'm a very big fan of UNC uniforms. But the black with that slight bit of red that hits in from the number just kind of clashes for me. And I know that like the alternate logo has like the usage of the red in it and everything, but that's not what's on the helmet. It's just the R that's white as well. So you have white, black, and this powder blue on the same helmet. The big black stripe in the middle does not do it for me as well as far as I am concerned here. There's just a lot of clashing going on with this. I feel like it does not contrast so well because it's just super dark with the color black on the powder blue, and then you just have this one random blip of red striped through the number. Doesn't work for me. At number 6, this is where we start to get a little bit better in the uniforms, in my opinion, but still could use some work. And at number 6, I'm looking at the St. Louis Battlehawks. Now, funny enough, favorite color is blue, and I really like the shade of blue that they use for the St. Louis Battlehawks here. But I will say that these uniforms are a little bit generic for me. This honestly kind of feels like a uniform kind of make that you'd get from like Create a Team in Madden way back in like 2006. Just the one stripe over the shoulders that cuts from like basically your chest all the way around to the other side to the back of the shoulder blade, and then just like the one gradually thickening stripe down the side on the leg here doesn't really do it for me. I just feel like there's not enough like accent or something to this here. Like even with the two prior uniforms, and more so I guess this applies to the Renegades, there's at least the effort of like an accent added into the uniform, but it's just very generic for me. They get points for being blue, my favorite color. I'll give them that. But I would just, and like, I know that if you really look at the shoulders, there's like a thinner, like dark accent of blue that kind of goes alongside, but you're not really accenting blue with a darker blue, in my opinion. So it's just very generic. That's kind of the biggest gripe that I have with the uniform here. Generic is kind of what jumps out to me. And again, another one of those situations where the more I look at it, the more I kind of just wish that there was a little bit more going on with the uniform. A little too plain for my taste. Like if the pants were white on, if let's say the jersey was blue with white and blue stripe, that would probably do a little bit more for me because the white would really pop some more. So it's just one of those things. And maybe they have an alternate that looks like that, but just based off what I'm looking at here, it's just too much plain. Too much plain is the best way I can put it. At number 5, I've got the team that, listen, and this is one of those things where, as somebody that lost a team from the USFL, as these two teams merged together, I was a fan of the New Orleans Breakers. I'm looking for a new team, and I thought it was going to be the Memphis Showboats, and I love what they did with the uniforms here. I haven't necessarily always been a fan of the look of the uniform, like the really big block of yellow on the shoulder pads has always kind of thrown me off a little bit. I thought there was more that they could do, but I will say that navy blue with the yellow does match up really, really well. And this is kind of what I was talking about with like the San Antonio Brahmas as well. The colors do clash a little bit here. The blue could be slightly darker, but I am kind of a fan of the way it looks. And I think that this uniform could have been done a little bit differently, but I understand they want to keep, the look of the Memphis Showboats here. But I really like the navy blue. I think it looks a lot better with the yellow than the gray does from the San Antonio Brahmas, and that's kind of what separates it from that team. But ultimately, they did an adjustment to where the nameplate is, or excuse me, where the yellow covers on the back of the jersey, so you can actually see what the nameplate is what I'm trying to say. So I do like that. It was an excellent upgrade to the uniform there because it made it very difficult to see when you had white letters on yellow jersey when you were trying to read the backs of the jerseys last year for the Memphis Showboats. So I think that's an excellent upgrade there. So they do get brownie points for that. I love the alternate logo of the M's on the shoulders as well. You can't really see it in this picture here, but I'm actually a fairly big fan of the way this uniform looks. I think the dark navy blue combined with the yellow matches up really well with the just kind of the two color schemes that they have going on here. So really big fan of what Memphis is doing. Maybe I'm just slightly more partial to the blue than I am to like what the gray/black that the San Antonio Brahmas are doing. But I think this looks a little bit better in my opinion. Coming into the top half now, this is where I think the uniforms start to look very good, very clean, very crisp. I think that it goes a long way sometimes where simple is better, but there needs to be a little bit of variation to what's going on in the design. I think, and like if you think of what I said about the St. Louis Battlehawks, them being too generic, I think that there is a level of generic you can go for, but there needs to be some sort of, there needs to be more than just a stripe here, a stripe there of two, of one color on top of another color. And that's where these teams kind of start to separate themselves. And at number 4, I have the DC Defenders. Now, the big thing that really separates the Defenders from a team like the St. Louis Battlehawks, in my opinion here, is the accent of the silver/gray, whatever you want to call it, that's on this uniform here. I really like the way the red pops. Looks really nice. On the shoulders, you got yourself a couple of stripes here. Numbers on the shoulder pads look really good as well, but it's that silver that is in the numbers as well that really kind of adds that extra layer to the uniform, even though it is just a completely red uniform with just a couple of white stripes here, a couple of white stripes there. The numbers on the shoulder pads do a lot for me, and it's that accent inside the numbers themselves. Again, not a great look at it from the way this jersey is here, but I do think that goes a long way in taking that uniform just to the next level there. So that's what it's really about for me. If you want to go simple, you need some accents of a color that goes within the scheme that they have there. Also, I'm a really big fan of the DC Defenders helmets on top of that. I know that's not pictured in here. Like I said, I really hope we get like more official looks at everything, but I really, really like what the Defenders are doing here with their uniforms. Coming in at number 3, we have ourselves the USFL two-time champions, the Birmingham Stallions. This is another one of those classic throwback looks that does a lot for me. I'm a very big fan of what they've got going on here. The gold pants, the red jersey, they have the three-colored stripe over on the shoulders there with the numbers on top of the shoulder pads here. They got the little bit of gold that highlights the number 5 on the jersey as well. This is what I'm talking about here. A little more variation as far as the shoulders go with the way the colors kind of match up here. It's not just a stripe or 2 stripes. You have 3 stripes with 2 white, 1 with being the gold. That's what I like to see here. This is a very classic and throwback look for football uniforms, in my opinion. And me being a guy that really appreciates some of the older uniforms that we've gotten to see from the NFL and even some of the more classic uniforms from these couple of spring football leagues here. USFL more so than the XFL, but point being, I'm a very big fan of classical looks for football uniforms, and I think that the Birmingham Stallions nail it. Absolutely nail it. Coming in at number 2, we have the Michigan Panthers. And again, for pretty much all the same reasons here. And it's a very small detail that stands out to me that really makes these uniforms here. I like the gold. I like the darker maroon, burgundy, whatever you want to call it. The really, really dark red that they have here. I think these two colors match up really well. You have a very bright, pastel kind of color, I guess is the better way to kind of describe it there, with the gold that they're using there, coupled with that really dark maroon burgundy-ish color. But it's what's going on the shoulder pads. Again, you're looking at a 3-stripe color here where you have the 1 stripe of the burgundy, you have the 2 stripes of the white, the 2 stripes of a very soft baby blue there. That is what does it for me. Again, sometimes it's just a little bit of an accent that separates what would be like a generic uniform or a throwback uniform from one of those other ones, where like the St. Louis Battlehawks just don't quite have that. And it would have gone a long way with some sort of accents added in to what they have going there for me. So I'm a very big fan of this as well. And this, I'll lump them and the Birmingham Stallions together. 2 of my favorite uniforms, all because they're very classic throwback looks, but they do a good job of adding a little bit of variance in their uniforms, depending on whether it's with the color from the pants being on the shoulder pads, or in this case, when you look at the Panthers here, it's just a very slight blue that's in their logo that finds its way onto the uniform itself, and I'm a very big fan of that. And then finally, to wrap up the list here, and my goodness, I did not think I was going to like this next one here, and we're talking the Houston Roughnecks, who have stolen my heart with the way this uniform looks. I'm going to say this, the 2-tone helmet thing, did not think I was going to be a fan of it. And again, something that I didn't like about, and I wish would be altered for the Memphis Showboats, is the giant block of color that they have over the shoulder pads there. But what they have going on over here in Houston, completely different in terms of why I like it when you look at what I just said in regards to the Birmingham Stallions and the Michigan Panthers having very classic throwback looks. This is one of those modern looks that they did just a phenomenal job, and I think they nailed. It's so different, but it doesn't look tacky. I don't know. And this is a uniform I did not expect to like this much, but the more I look at it, they were not my number 1 going into this list. I kind of had a preconceived notion as to what my list was going to be, but the more I look at this, when you look at big fan of the white pants, you got the nice blue stripes on the side there. The blue gloves match up with this really, really well, and I love white cleats. I think it's a very classy look, especially when you double them up with white pants. It's an awesome look in my opinion. But once you start to get to the jersey, I love the fade from red to blue in the numbers there. Again, the white shoulder pads break up the jersey a little bit there. The numbers on the shoulder pads, always a great look in my opinion. But man, does that helmet look good. And honestly, if I could buy that helmet somewhere, I absolutely would. I don't own any football helmets, and that's something that I would love to get into collecting. It's a very expensive thing, but if I could pick a singular helmet, I know I have a helmet right here, but this is a mini helmet. I'm talking about a full-sized helmet. But if I could start collecting full-sized helmets here, my very first helmet that I would love to grab, and I can't believe, as a guy that's an NFL buff, love me some NFL football, it's the reason I started this podcast to begin with, I would love to snatch up a Houston Roughnecks helmet. I love the 2-tone thing that they got going on there. Again, I love this uniform for so many different reasons that I love, all my top 3, I guess, as a whole there, even like the DC Defender, because you look at like what I'm saying here and it kind of contradicts the way I feel about the other 3 uniforms that precede this one here. The Panthers, the Defenders, and the Stallions. They all have very classical throwback looks with nice accentations. I don't know if that's a word. I might have just made that up, but like it all looks very clean, classic, but there's enough going on in them that it's not generic looking. Whereas like this is so out of left field and so out of like the realm of what I would typically say is my taste in NFL or college football or any just football style uniforms in general. They nailed this one. And this makes me want to be a Houston Roughnecks fan, strictly because I don't have a team. Again, lost to New Orleans Breakers. I thought I was going to be rooting for the Memphis Showboats, but this uniform alone has swayed my opinion. So I'm going to have to take some time to think about that. But that is my thoughts on what the Houston Roughnecks have going on uniform-wise. I think that is a beautiful look there, and I'm very excited to see it on the football field. But those are my rankings for the uniforms for the UFL going into season of 2024. Let me know in the comment section down below. What is your rankings of the uniforms, your thoughts on the uniforms? Do you like or dislike any of them? I would love to hear that and discuss with you all. But that is it from me. Thank you for joining me on this excellent Sunday. I will see you all next time. Have a good one.